So hello to Keith Stephenson and Mark Hampshire from Mini Moderns. And firstly, what I want to say is thank you for donating this really beautiful kettle to the competition I'm running. It's really wonderful. It's such a beautiful design. But I want you, firstly, I want to tell you to tell me a little bit about Mini Moderns, which is kind of like, it's a designer, maker, producer company. And you do wallpapers, you do cushions, bedding, crockery, so much and stuff you wouldn't imagine a design company would do. Can you tell me just a sort of small version of what the story of Mini Moderns is?
Yeah. Keith and I met working in a design agency. So we were working in kind of commercial branding and design and that kind of thing. But what we really liked doing was in our past when we both grew up doing the same kind of thing. Although we didn't know each other, we were both northern boys in the 80s, going around secondhand shops, buying secondhand clothes from the 50s and 60s, watching kitchen sink dramas on the newly launched Channel 4, and loving things like Taste of Honey. So we just loved mid-century. So when we got the chance to, we moved out of the world of kind of commercial branding and started doing the kind of design that we always loved. And wallpaper was the sort of obvious thing it was a newly emerging popular medium. And so it takes print really well. So mid-century patterns that are all based on our kind of personal thing.
Is that what you started on with wallpaper then?
Yeah, we entered a competition for an interior design shop, and they wanted somebody to do wallpaper that wasn't from a textile or a wallpaper background. They kind of briefed graphic designers, and so we entered the competition. We won, and it got produced, and it was nominated for an Elle Decoration Award. And we kind of just thought, oh, do you know what? Let's move away from the boring world of branding and actually do something that we love that people seem to also respond to. So it all started with wallpaper. So it's from there.
And our design ethos, we call it pattern with a story. And the reason for that is because everything that we do is based in kind of personal narrative. So it's about, as I was saying, it's about kind of films and literature that we love, or it's about places that we've visited and loved, or
social history.
We love music. Social history, and so
we're quite nerdy, really.
Yeah.
But I you just put your finger on exactly the thing I think attracted you, because I mean, there's lots of people who are taken by that mid-century aesthetic, but you seem to have another level, and it's that narrative that I think really, really pulls me. You seem to be always telling stories that are kind of about my childhood or your own childhoods. Do you know what I mean? There's these little references that keep coming in.
Yeah. It's really interesting, actually, because we might do a wallpaper that is kind of specifically about us growing up or something that we love, but our designs are kind of we sort of hide things in our designs. Well, they're quite multi-layered, and it's really interesting to see other people's responses to it, because they kind of put their own stories into it, because there's kind of so much in it. So it's quite surprising what people get out of a simple pattern, and it's really interesting that in the same way that smell and things like that, when people see a pattern that reminds them of something that they've grown up with, they have a really, really big response to it.
Yeah, I mean, it really is an emotional sort of response to your stuff. And it is, those color choices and things like that are brilliant. Do you know what I mean? They do have that, they kind of got a modern feel, but they really sort of, you know, you kind of might have seen them in an aunt's house or something, and they sort of respond in a really good way. But also Dungeness is a thing. You have strong connections to Dungeness. And I can remember seeing your Dungeness wallpaper and just thinking, that's amazing. And I'll show a little bit of Dungeness wallpaper now just to share. But you do things like Dungeness seeds. You know, this is when I'm saying you're not just a design company, you have little ideas that come through. Tell us about the Dungeness connection.
Well, so another thing that was kind of a coincidence about us was that we both had visited Dungeness in sort of, you know, before Keith and I met. Keith used to work in fashion, so he used to go down.
The fashion shoots just happened down there all the time, and so I'd been down there for fashion shoots.
And I'd worked on a couple of Royal College of Art student films in the art department, and so there was a sort of slight kind of connection with the RCA Film School and Derek Jarman. So basically, there were reasons why we both had visited Dungeness. And I think the way that lots of people who then kind of do that living in London kind of thing, as you can tell, we designed a kettle and a wallpaper based on Whitby, which was where we went to on holiday separately, but as kids we both went to Whitby. So we're really drawn to the seaside, and we particularly love kind of those odd seaside places. And guess what, Dungeness is like it doesn't get much more kind of atmospheric than Dungeness, and that sort of out of season seaside kind of trip, but brilliantly. Whereas from London, Whitby is a 4.5 hour drive. Dungeness is, you can get there in 2 hours. So it's a perfect little kind of like day trip. So from day trips, we then kind of, we were actually staying in a friend's place in Rye, and we just took a little trip down to Dungeness and saw a place that was for sale.
It was a very expensive weekend.
Did that classic thing of kind of ringing up the estate agent and saying, I don't suppose we could have a look around this little house, could we? And by Monday morning, we'd put a deposit on it. And
oh, how wonderful, though.
Yeah.
It was totally unintentional. We kind of just thought, we had sort of toyed with the idea of buying somewhere near the sea, sort of just to get away to. But the thing with Dungeness is that nothing comes up for sale. I mean, there are 100 houses, and so it was just really bizarre that we just kind of walked past, not the most beautiful house on the beach, but we walked past and it was for sale, and we just kind of went, right, okay. That was that.
But you're inside looking out, but it is beautiful actually, because you've got one of the original railway carriages. Because people don't know, they actually just pull the railway carriages literally off the line in a kind of line.
Yes.
And you've got one of those, haven't you?
Yes, we have.
I mean, it was put there in 1927. It's a Victorian railway carriage. But the interesting thing about it is that our carriage is a guards van, so we have like a lantern on the top of it. So it's quite interesting because people actually do know what number carriage we've got, and we do sort of come out the front door and see people standing, like drawing it and taking photos of our carriage, because it's quite a rarity. But they're quite small, so we're quite the carriage itself, it really benefits from having this sort of lantern on the top of it, because it gives you a bit more head height, and it kind of lets loads of light in, because they can be quite dark, because it is a railway carriage. They were designed to live in. It was a very fortuitous thing that we found it, and it's we spent a long time renovating from the inside, and it hasn't changed on the outside at all. But it took a long time to kind of just take it back to its bare bones and sort of start again.
And just finally, I mean, I'd urge anybody to go and see minimoderns.com, the website, and see all the stuff you've got on there. But has it changed, just having a place down there as an escape from London and another sort of perspective, has it changed your design aesthetic at all?
Well, it did for one of our collections we called Hinterland, which is what the Dungeness wallpaper is from. And just in terms of that collection, the whole of that collection was based on areas around Dungeness. So just for example, we have like a pegboard wallpaper that we did, and that was entirely based on a second-hand shop that we found in Greatstown. And then we have a print called Pluto, which is the nerdy thing comes out again. It's all about the pipeline under the ocean, so the Pluto line from the Second World War. So we kind of did a kind of Dazzle ships and Pluto line and Dungeness sound mirrors all thrown into one print.
Odd kind of mashup. So, but yeah, so I think Dungeness, yeah, it appealed to our sort of storytelling kind of aesthetic, and yeah, it definitely kind of has had, and also it just has a brilliant effect on us, which is that when we feel really burnt out, we can kind of go and kind of relax and recharge. I mean, that's it biggest benefit. We can really recharge there.
And even that knowledge, presumably, that when you're flat out, you know you've got a place you can escape to, that it's there, that it's always part of your head to escape to when
definitely.
when London gets too much.
Yeah,
it makes a huge difference. I mean, even if we go down and like do bits of work, but just the amount of thinking time that we have. We don't have a TV. We've got a record player. We don't really have internet, and it's so you really do get away from things.
That's fantastic. Listen, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Lovely to speak to you.